benvenuti allora a tutti voi a questo convegno che apre la versione digitale della Finance Community Week, l'evento che per il secondo anno rappresenta uno spazio per la community finanziaria per approfondire le diverse tematiche di mercato. E mai come quest'anno forse abbiamo bisogno di capire in che direzione andrà il mercato, quali saranno appunto le dinamiche che lo guideranno dopo questa tempesta che stiamo vivendo, questa pandemia di portata epocale che ci ricorderemo, e quindi quali saranno gli effetti di questa pandemia sulla nostra economia a lungo termine, la nostra in Italia, ma anche a livello internazionale e soprattutto a livello europeo. Cercheremo di capirlo oggi con una serie di speaker, di relatori d'eccezione, e quindi io inizio subito questa giornata densa di spunti che speriamo insomma vi piacerà, con il nostro primo speaker, che è Laurence Boone, capo economista dell'OCSE, l'Organizzazione per la Cooperazione per lo Sviluppo Economico, che ci farà uno speech introduttivo. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Hi, can you hear me well now?
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay, excellent. So sorry about this. So I will make faster 3 points. One is how the outlook is actually shaped by the outlook for health, for vaccine, for treatment. And at the OECD, we are lucky to have a health department, so I can explain what our view on this is, which obviously help us shape our projections for the economic outlook. The second point is I think that globally and especially in Europe, we have learned a lot from the financial crisis, and we are actually managing this crisis a lot better than we did manage the global financial crisis. And the third point will be, and the conclusion will be some direction suggestions for making the outlook a little brighter. So let me start with what we think about pharmaceutical development. As you know, we had some great news on the vaccine last week, which we think will lift confidence, but more importantly, may have some impact on the economic outlook towards the end of 2021. We don't think that this will have a major impact on the first half of 2021 for the following reasons. It takes a lot of time to manufacture, distribute, deploy the vaccine for a sufficient number of people that actually, there's no risk of bottleneck in hospital and we can resume our life normally. And what that means is that for the first half of this year, we will most likely have to live with an economy that is not working at full capacity, but at 90 or 95% of its capacity. And that will still therefore require a lot of policy support for firms in the sectors that are affected by physical distancing, for people who are working for these firms, and also to make sure that the global demand, not only in these sectors, but the demand remains high enough that we do not induce a recession that would go beyond the sectors which are affected by physical distancing. So that's the first point, really, is the health development is fantastic, but it's unlikely to change our life until way into 2021 at the earliest the summer, but it has the potential to do so thereafter. The second point is that, as I was saying, we have learned tremendously from the previous crisis. So policymakers are actually managing really well this crisis. In the first phase of the crisis, they were super fast and super efficient at deploying blanket support, putting the economy under a cocoon and ensuring that firms and people income were protected. The way they did it varied across country, but I think there was unanimity or quasi-unanimity in the OECD to actually do that. And that has been super efficient, as we have seen when we got out of the reconfinement, because the rebound surprised everybody on the upside. And the main reason why this happened is because the production capacity had not been damaged. Governments managed to protect firms through their special programs, and people employment capacity had not been damaged at all, especially in Europe. With the short-term working schemes, people kept their job and were ready to work day one of the reopening. So we had a huge rebound. The second point about the good news on the way policymakers are managing the crisis is I think we've learned from the global financial crisis where fiscal support was withdrawn much too early in the crisis. And you've heard many people, and including especially us at the OECD, saying we should not repeat the mistake of the past and actually keep the fiscal support throughout this second phase of the crisis until some pharmaceutical treatment means that we can live normally again. And I think that's what most OECD countries are doing. Obviously, in the US, it's a little more complicated owing to the political situation. But if we look at Europe, that's actually what's happening. The budgetary rules are still suspended for 2021. And even better than that, we have the recovery fund, which is obviously a big boost to help economy in the European Union rebuild better. And I'll come back to that. So we are not repeating the fiscal mistake. Policymakers have been much faster with monetary policy, which is enabling the fiscal support, and that will continue to do so in 2021. Where perhaps we have been less good is in terms of global cooperation. It's quite ironical that in the great financial crisis, there were only, a couple of two handful of countries that were really at the origin and affected by the crisis. And there was huge global fiscal cooperation. In this crisis, all countries in the world are affected, but the global cooperation has been more difficult. Also, we had some good news from the G20 on Friday, where a common framework for debt support for the low-income countries was agreed. And also, I think we have COVAX, the platform for the vaccine, that will be essential because we need every country to actually have managed the fight against the vaccine for the economic activity to re-blossom like it did before. And just to conclude on the way forward and have a little focus on Europe, I think we should be extremely happy to have the recovery fund for two reasons. The first one is because it's essential to maintain this fiscal support, and national economies are able to do this at the moment thanks to very low interest rates for long. But the second is this fund is precisely designed to boost trend growth through two main factors. One is digital economy, and we've seen in this crisis how it's important. A lot of countries are helping their SMEs to catch up with digital, and I think the European Recovery Fund should put a huge accent and insistence on this. The other is sustainability and the green economy, and that's an EU ambition, and we didn't change after the great financial crisis. This time there's a huge opportunity to change, and I think we should seize it. And the last point I would like to insist on is that this crisis is creating huge inequality between countries, advanced and emerging market economies who have more difficulty addressing the virus crisis, within countries, between those workers that can work from home, like us here, and those who cannot, and also within generation, because the kids are the ones who suffer the most from school closure, and we need to put some extra effort in there. Perhaps if there's one area in Europe where there's not enough focus at the moment, it is that one. And with this suddenly hope, I wish you a very good financial week. Thank you.
All the issues that you put on our attention. Of course, there are a lot of things. I thank you very much. Thank you for being with us, and I hope to see you next year and to talk about how the economies are recovered and how we're all growing and we solve this problem and all the inequalities you were talking about. Thank you very much.